At the time of recording this, we are almost 2 weeks into the new year, and hopefully you haven't fallen off completely with your goals just yet. But if you have, or you're worried that you might, or you just need some extra motivation to keep you on track, then this is the video for you. If you're new here, then hello, my name is Izzy Miller. I'm a mindset strategist, and in the last 6 years, my life has completely changed. 6 years ago, a traumatic breakup led me to lose my job, thus losing my house and losing my health as a result of the way in which I tried to process the breakup. 6 years on from that, and I am happier, more confident, and more self-aware than I've ever been before. I'm the founder and owner of a transformational retreats company that helps people, just like where I was, find themselves again and feel like they are in control of themselves and their lives, no matter what has happened to them or how rubbish they felt. And I've done all of that alongside my incredible partner, who I've been with for the last 4 years. But very little of that would have been possible if I hadn't have set priorities at the beginning of each year. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, then you may have missed a previous video or podcast, so I'd highly recommend going back and listening to or watching that first. But if you have, and you have got your priorities, you're ready to go, then in this video, I just wanted to kind of sit down with you and share what I've been doing in these first 2 weeks of the year to really keep on track with my priorities, but also keep myself motivated and excited to keep going with them, because I am very well aware that the start of a new year is quite motivational, quite exciting, and for some reason I definitely get excited too. I get caught up in that trap of, oh, this is going to be an incredible year. And that's why I stopped setting goals, because I would get excited and set things that, to be honest, I didn't actually want. I just set them because they felt exciting and I was motivated at the time. But since I've stopped setting goals and just focused on setting 3 priorities for the year, I have been able to really achieve so much more in those areas and feel really proud of the year I've had as a result. So my 3 priorities for this year are content. The second one is independent activities. And the third one is outdoor adventures. So I did explain this in the last video, but I'll very quickly go over them. If I focus on just one thing this year that would move me forwards exponentially in business, in my personal life, in how I feel in myself, I realized it would be content. And so that's why you're going to be seeing much more of me on here. So subscribe if this is your kind of content and you want to see more. So that's why content is my first priority. My second priority is independent activities. Living in a household with my partner where we both work from home in a brand new country that we've only lived in for just over a year now, and we're still building a bit of a base. I find that I spend so much of my time with my partner, and really I want to get out. I want to be doing things by myself again so that I don't lose the confidence of doing things solo. And I find that I feel so much better, so much more empowered when I do things by myself. And I also don't tend to fixate on small little things that might frustrate me that my partner does when I'm more focused on myself and the bigger picture of my life. And my third one is outdoor adventures. When I wrote down my favourite moments of the previous year, I realised that the majority of them were when I'd been outside, in nature, moving my body, paddleboarding, swimming. And so because of that, I want to have more happy memories this year. If I didn't know that that was what made me most happy last year, and I still was able to create happy memories, then how many more happy memories can I create in this year based on that knowledge and data that I have from last year? So, what have I been doing in these first 2 weeks? It is the 11th of January today, so just under 2 weeks, but I feel like I've done quite a lot in those 11 days. So I'm going to literally run you through what I've been doing from when I first created these priorities right up until now. So the first thing that I really like to do is start on my priorities before the new year. I don't like the idea that I can only do something when a certain date hits. It's same with Valentine's Day. I like that Valentine's Day exists. However, I don't want Valentine's Day to be the reason why I show love to my partner, why I buy him a present, why I write him a card, why I say nice things to him. I, as far as I feel, should be showing those kind of behaviours on a daily or weekly basis, because I want my partner to be feeling that love throughout the year, and I want to be feeling that love. Similarly, when people say, oh, what do you want to do for your birthday? What do you want your perfect breakfast to be? I eat my favourite breakfast every day. Now, it depends what your favourite breakfast is. If your favourite breakfast is pancakes with melted chocolate and strawberries on top, then it's probably not sustainable on a daily basis. So perhaps I'm just lucky there. But my point here is that if you can start before the date that you've set, then you can prove to yourself before that time period starts that you are capable of that thing. And so I knew that I really wanted this new year to really focus on content. But I know that I've not been consistent with that in the past. And so I wanted to get ahead of any lazy momentum, any momentum that said I couldn't be bothered, by really trying to put things in place to make it as easy as possible for myself to get started this year and to remove the excuses that I knew I might come in with. So we actually went away for Christmas. We went to France, and the day before our flight, I decided to paint a corner of my lounge green. To film lots of content, you don't need a kind of film setup, but I really wanted to be doing more professional looking content. This is more of my chilled content setup, but if you go onto my previous videos, then you'll probably see that more formal setup. And the green that you see in the background, I'm not in an entire room or an entire studio or anything fancy. I simply painted a corner of my lounge, put my desk in it, and set up some lighting. And I'll pop a picture of that on the screen so you can really see what I'm talking about and see those behind the scenes. I did that because I really wanted to get started with content in the new year. And if I didn't have that set up, then I'd be faffing around with the camera and faffing around with, oh, it doesn't look right, not actually feeling confident about what I was filming, confident about what I was saying, which is the main thing, but not confident about what it looked like. And then if I did decide to paint in the new year, then I've got to wait for the paint to dry, and my partner's then not as available to help me because he's focusing on his work. So I decided to do that setup the day before we flew, and honestly, I can see it from where I'm sat here. I'm really, really glad I did. It really eliminated the distractions that I had and increased my motivation to film. So that was kind of something that I did to get in front of excuses, but also get myself more excited for what I was doing. The second thing I did before New Year even hit was I started trying to find a video editor. I realized if I'm recording lots of content, that means I've got to edit that content. And if my main goal is to film as much content as possible, then am I going to want to film lots of content if I then know that I need to edit it? Because the more work I do, I should be rewarded for that work, not then hindered or almost get the opposite of a reward, like a punishment. You've recorded all this content, well done, here's loads of editing to do. So I knew that that was something I needed to offload onto someone else, needed to delegate. And it was quite difficult to find the right person. I needed to find somebody to cut down the long form content into shorts, and I needed to find somebody to edit the long form. And so I was back and forth with loads of editors on Fiverr trying to find the right person. And that took time. If I'd have started that in the new year, I would have not really wanted to get on with filming because I knew that I didn't have someone to edit it. I knew that those files were going to be sat, and then my laptop or my hard drive was going to get full, and then I was just going to come to a dead end. So again, finding this editor ahead of time was really me trying to get ahead of any excuses, anything that could slow down my momentum. So I managed to find a shorts editor before the new year hit. And then since the new year, when I watched back some of my long form videos, I realized they needed a little something else. And so I've just, as of the last 2 days, found a long form video editor, which is fab. If you watched my goal setting for 2026 video, that was by somebody that I used to do a test. It wasn't perfect, but I did it. I got it out. And that was the main thing that mattered. And hopefully, if you're watching these YouTube videos more consistently, you'll see the quality improve over time. But that's because I had to get started first. I knew that the first stuff I recorded wasn't going to be as good as I wanted it to be, but nothing ever will be. If you go onto YouTube and you search for your favorite YouTuber and you scroll back through all of their videos, first of all, you'll see just how many they've done. There's a guy called Simon Willis who my partner really loves watching on YouTube, and he does sort of travel videos and travel challenges. And we didn't realize how long he's been doing it for. He's been going for 7-10 years. And when you go back to some of his earlier videos, they are nowhere near the quality that his are now, both in terms of filming, because I'm sure the quality of the camera has improved, but also in terms of his way of speaking. Same, me and my partner watch a lot of Alex Hormozy. If you go back to Alex's first videos, they are so different. The video quality is grainy, they're barely edited. He ums, he ahs, he stumbles. And me sitting in front of you now, I really hope that in 5 years' time, I can look back, hopefully scroll through tons and tons of videos, tons of value, tons of content, and really see the difference between this now and where I am in the future. And rather than looking at these videos and thinking, oh my God, what was I thinking? That's terrible. I want to be thinking, I'm so proud of myself because I couldn't have got to where I am now if I hadn't started there. So if you've been putting something off because you are a perfectionist and you hate the first draft, this was me. I was terrified of red pen. I used to write stories and stories and stories when I was a kid. And then teachers started using red pen to correct, to cross out, and I stopped writing stories. I could barely even start writing. I struggled so much with it because I was petrified that it was going to be bad from the get-go. Reality check, it was going to be bad from the get-go, but at least it was better than if I'd not done it at all. But hey, I'm probably going to do another video entirely on that and what helped me go from perfectionist to, well, not a perfectionist, someone who takes action and takes courage instead of fear. So if you want to see that, then let me know in the comments. I also started filming before New Year's, so I think I managed to get a couple of videos recorded prior to the new year coming in. I also knew that if I was going to be hiring an editor, that means I'm paying them. And with these editors, I'm doing it on a monthly basis, so they've got a monthly retainer for these videos. And so that means that, first of all, I have to create content in order to be able to give it to them. Otherwise, they can't do their job. It's like having an employee, but not giving them the stuff they need in order to be able to do the work. But the second thing I realized is that I need to make sure that the content is good. The videos that they're editing will only be as good as I am. And no amount of editing is going to mask crappy content. So if I was going to be paying them to edit my stuff, then I needed to make sure that the stuff was good so I wasn't wasting my pennies. Because when you first start up, I'm not getting anything from this. There is no return on this video. And so I'm paying and getting no return, but that's all part of the long-term process, isn't it? The second thing I did that only came into play when I actually started was I realised that I needed a new camera. Now, when I decided that my priority for this year was going to be content, I didn't think, that means I need a new camera. I just thought, I'm going to get started with what I have. And so we got started with what I had, and what I discovered was that my camera could only record 30 minutes at one time before it would shut off. And so I spent ages recording a video only to find that it had stopped recording midway through. And so that was another barrier. If I had to be thinking about that all the time and worrying about that and worrying about SD cards and all sorts, it wasn't going to be helpful. It wasn't going to make me want to create content. So we did some research and we found a camera, not a crazy expensive camera, just a camera that can record for much longer than those 30 minutes. And I'll probably end up selling the previous camera that I had. But I didn't start with saying, I want the camera. Because when you start with that, you get the new camera and you start filming and you quickly realize, where's my reward? You've got to start, find out what you need, and then you can get the reward of new things. Another thing I did was I realized, again, if I'm going to be recording more and I'm going to have more content, that's going to take a lot of time to post. So I found a scheduler that I could just put the video in and it would send it to all the different channels. And that way I didn't have to think about it. I could be much more consistent because I wouldn't be out with family and then be like, oh, hang on a minute, I need to post. Using that scheduler has allowed me to, again, not create any excuses or any difficulties in trying to stick to my priority. And I really just want to bring this back to the reason, again, why I say set priorities, not goals. My goal is not to hit 200,000 followers. My goal isn't to become monetized on YouTube. My goal isn't to post 3 times a day. My priority is simply to create as much content as possible. That's it. I don't want to feel guilty if I don't hit 3 a day. I don't want that. That's not my priority. My priority is to simply put out more. And another reason for this is when we have these set goals, we don't make room for changes to those goals. So last year, for instance, me and my partner ended up purchasing a second house. And as a result, I ended up becoming a landlord for my previous flat, and we renovated the place that we are now in. That was not on my goals list. We had been in our previous place for only about a year, and I had no intention of moving. But things happened. Life happened. Life presented me with an opportunity, and it felt right. It worked out, and so we were able to do that. Becoming a landlord was never a goal I had for myself. But as a result, it allows me to feel that bit more financially free because I have that income coming in. And so if you have set yourself goals, I would really urge you to question whether they could be causing you more harm than good, because it's only when you recognize how much harm they can cause you, how much they can cause you to stress, to feel guilty, to turn away other opportunities, that you then realize you kind of made a big mistake. But I'm going to keep talking about my priorities, and if it motivates you to set yours too, then there's a win. So I actually did a little post a few days ago, I think it was 6 days into January, where I shared what I've achieved in line with my priorities this year so far, 6 days in. And this is what I'd managed to do. In content, I published in the first week of Jan 104 pieces of content over YouTube, podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, Shorts, and Threads. So that is honestly about the amount of content, if not more, that I posted in the entirety of last year alone. So in my first week of this year, I have proven to myself that I can stick to this priority. I can do what I set myself. But there is no way I would have been able to create 104 pieces worth of content if I hadn't have started setting up for that before the new year began. Outdoor activities wise, I'll be honest, I hadn't done a huge amount because it has honestly been -5 here in Scotland. It has been absolutely freezing. Maybe that's an excuse. But it did make me start thinking about, what do I need to implement or prepare for in order to prepare ourselves for an amazing summer of outdoor activities, and also what outdoor activities can we do between now and summer, because I don't want to wait until summer to have happy memories. And so I started thinking, and I realised that I could actually paddleboard in winter. I might not be able to paddleboard right now because the locks are all frozen, but I don't have to wait until summer when it's warm to paddleboard. The only thing that I need to do in order to make sure that that is safe to do is get a life jacket. So that if I fall in, yes, I can swim, but if it's really cold water shock can be deadly. And so getting a life jacket means that I can wrap up warm and have like a cozy little paddleboard, but without worrying that I could be in danger by doing so. So that is something that I've managed to do. I've ordered a life jacket. Jordan also suggested something really clever. So as directors of 2 businesses, what you might not know is directors can be given a £50 gift card from the business 4 times a year. And so Jordan suggested that why don't we both use those gift cards towards Airbnb credit? And so By the time summer rolls round, we might have about £100 each with which to use to pay for a couple night trip somewhere. And the types of trips we take are usually ones where we get to do outdoor activities. So I thought that was a really brilliant suggestion and something that we need to implement now. We need to start thinking about that in advance of summer or whenever we decide to spend this money. So what for you now could you start doing to make it easier for yourself to achieve your priorities, or if you've got them, your goals, by the time they come along? And January and this sort of, depending on where you're based, this colder time of year where some things can be a bit hard to do, can be a really great time to prepare for when you're actually going to do them. So if you want to run a marathon in summer, have you taken steps to find a coach? Have you taken steps to find maybe content creators that are really into running and motivate you? So when it's a dark, dreary February morning, you can whack that content creator on YouTube, watch them in the morning, and then it makes you want to go for a run. What else could you do? You could start trying to find out what nutrition you need and start exploring that. You might not be able to go for as long runs as you want because it's super cold, although maybe that's just me being a wimp, but I'm just trying to think of other ideas for you here. So what could you do to prepare for your priorities to be easy to accomplish, enjoyable to accomplish, rather than hard and difficult? And then in terms of independent activities, I have gone out on some solo walks. There is a local girls group in my area where it's basically just for girls in their kind of 20s and 30s to meet up and to meet new people, try new things if they don't have the friends to do them with. And as I said, I've not been in this area long and I really don't know that many people. And so I'm going to go to a pottery class with one of the girls. And I know that might sound like, well, Izzy, that's not an independent activity. But it's not with my partner, and that's the main thing. The other thing that I am looking to do is go on a surf trip. My thinking was go away somewhere warm. However, when we were watching a video yesterday, there were some people who were surfing in Scotland. And because I'd set the priority, my eyes were like, oh, hang on a minute, could I actually surf in Scotland? A bit closer to home. That might even mean that I could do 2 trips, one in Scotland and one abroad. And so I watched that video and I managed to find out some information from there and research it. This is another example of preparing to achieve your goals and preparing to continue with your priorities. It's not necessarily about achieving everything instantly. It's about setting the groundwork to make it easier to achieve. So I'm setting the groundwork to go and do this surf trip. I'm not ready to do the surf trip yet. And I need to research. I want to make sure that it's the right one. And so that I have started setting the groundwork towards. In terms of outdoor adventures, Jordan and I also realised that one of the things we really enjoyed last year, which we were quite surprised by because I don't think it's really an us thing, was camping. We went camping and we absolutely loved it. And we have this massive tent we got on Facebook Marketplace 2 or 3 years ago now that we'd never used. And unfortunately, we went towards the end of summer and it was beautiful. There were shooting stars. There was a meteor shower. It was incredible. However, kind of as soon as we got back, it rained consistently for 2 weeks. So we couldn't go again. I mean, you can camp in the rain, but we didn't want to. And we had a great time when we went. However, when we were thinking about this year and how we can make it easier for ourselves to just go, because again, as much as we enjoyed it, it's easy to not want to go or be like, oh, it's so much effort. So what were the things that could possibly become an excuse or a barrier towards us doing this? And I realised it was the tent itself. It was a big tent. Yes, when we set it up in summer, that was the first time we'd set it up, so it was harder than it could have been because we weren't used to it. But it was a big tent and it took time. And actually, could we sell that tent and with that money buy a pop-up tent? A pop-up tent would just make it so much quicker. When we went in summer, we'd been talking about going camping for ages and kind of making excuses, not really wanting to. And then it was a beautiful day. I think I had a coaching call reschedule. And so my afternoon became free. And so Jordan and I just looked at each other and we were like, should we go camping? So we spontaneously just grabbed the camping stuff and went. But what would make that even easier, especially now we know just how much effort it was to put up the tent, is to have a pop-up tent that we can just grab and go. Another thing we did last summer was I kept the paddle boards in the car so that if we were ever out and about and we saw like a lovely lake and we wanted to go paddleboarding, again, it wasn't like, oh, we don't have the paddle boards. We have them. There's no excuse. We can go. So what do you need to put in place to prepare and make the things that you want to do easier to do? What do you need to do? What do you need to set up? What do you need to purchase? What do you need to plan? What do you need to save? Who do you need to talk to make these things easier? Why not make it easier for yourself? It doesn't have to be hard. You are human. You will make excuses. I make excuses. I wake up and one day don't want to do content or don't want to go out by myself. So I have to put things in place. There's this Reformer Pilates place that I went to at the end of last year and I loved it. It is quite far away, so it's not like ideal. However, I do want to go back and do some sessions. And they do, I think there's a deal of like 4 for £44. And they have to be used within a 2-week period. So I have been procrastinating buying that pack for various reasons. However, if it was just like book a class anytime, I'd probably never do it, or I'd wait for someone to be like, do you want to go? Which might not happen. So instead, I know that I'm going to buy that pack. I'm not ready yet. I mean, we're in the first 2 weeks of the year. Give a girl a break. But I'm going to do that. And as soon as I buy that pack, I know I've got to schedule them in. I've got to book onto the classes because otherwise they'll be booked up and I might actually then miss out on the classes that I've paid for because I didn't book them in time. That is a great way for me to keep myself accountable to going and remove any excuses because I know I've booked it. I have to go. Yesterday, I tried out a new gym. I had so many beliefs that it wasn't going to be the right gym for me. And I'll be honest, it wasn't. My beliefs were confirmed when I went. But I've been meaning to go and try out that gym since July. I've been meaning to go for a long time and I kept procrastinating it because I just thought it was going to be a waste of time. The lady said I could come for free, but then I was thinking, well, what if the lady's not there? And then I don't know who to talk to or where to go, where to put my stuff, where the changing rooms are. And then 2 days ago, I bumped into a PT from that gym in Aldi and we were chatting and I was like, I've been meaning to come along. I really want to come along, even just to actually have done what I said I was going to do. And so he was like, yeah, pop around anytime. But I was like, I know me. Saying pop around anytime, that time is never going to come. Anytime means no time. So I was like, right, are you free tomorrow? It was Saturday. I was like, are you free tomorrow? He said yes. And he told me the times he was free and I put it in my calendar then and there for 10 a.m. and I went. No, the gym wasn't for me, but I tried it and I actually feel amazing today because my body is really sore and I haven't done a proper workout in months. I'm in a situation where unfortunately in my town, there just aren't any gyms that work for my way of working out, and that's not an excuse. I used to have a really bad relationship with my body and exercise and eating. And so I know that going to the gym needs to be fun. And so if I can't do what I need to do to enjoy exercise, then it's better for me to not have a gym membership at all. Otherwise, I'll feel guilty that I haven't used it. And if I go, it'll feel like a chore. Yes, I could reframe that mindset, but I also know what works for me. So I'm still on the hunt for a gym. I'll keep you updated on that. But that's just another example of how I did something. I changed my tactics to work for my human brain that deep down is lazy, wants to keep me safe, doesn't want me to do anything new, doesn't want me to do things alone. It wants me to stay at home under my very soft blanket and just keep myself safe, not talk to strangers, not do stuff like this. But I don't want safety. I want happiness. I want to feel content. I want to feel like I've made progress. I want to feel proud of myself. And so I cannot fall into the trap of the excuses and the desire for safety that my brain really wants me to have. So that's it for this first 2-week update of how I have been sticking to my priorities, staying on track and keeping myself motivated to continue achieving them throughout the rest of the year. We're only 2 weeks in, so we need to make sure we're pacing ourselves. It's the weekend and I have really committed this weekend to chilling out, to relaxing, so that I can be motivated and excited to go into Monday and have a really great week. Why am I recording this video if I'm supposed to be chilling? Because I wanted to. That's what happens when you set things up in a way that works with your brain, that excites you, that allows you to stay motivated. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, give it a follow, subscribe, give it a rating out of 5 stars, depending on where you're watching this. And all that's left to say is, I appreciate you.